clicking the button. We are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the July 15th, 2021 Board of Directors meeting of the Maryland Environmental Service. I am Charles Glass, and I would like to call to order. I'd like to start with a roll call of the board members. Mrs. Fuller, are you prepared to do a roll call?
I sure can. Well, Dr. Glass.
Here, present.
Here. Judge Smolkin.
Oh, I'm here.
Ms. Heller.
Good morning, I'm here.
Ms. Bennick.
Good morning, I'm here.
Ms. Wang.
Did we lose her?
I can see her. She seems to have lost audio, but I can see her.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, there she is.
I'm still getting that fluttering in the communication.
We will all mute ourselves except for the person speaking once we get through roll call, and hopefully that'll help, Ms. Wang.
Secretary Neal.
Here. Good morning, everybody.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. And Mr. Witt.
I'm here as well.
Okay. That is all of the board members.
Excellent. Welcome, everyone, and let's get this started by going through some board elections. I am no longer the chair of the board, and the first order of business will be to start with a nomination of a chair, and then a second, and then a vote. If it's okay, I'd like to nominate Judge Frederick Smolkin to be the chair of the Maryland Environmental Service Board.
This is Shelley Heller, second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Well, are there any questions, any concerns, comments? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
I am not voting.
Judge Smolkin abstains. And now Judge Smolkin is the chair. So with that, I bid my role as chair goodbye permanently, and I welcome Judge Smolkin to take over the meeting from this point forward.
Thank you, Dr. Glass, and I hope that I can live up to what you have done in making these monthly areas. I think it is terrific, and I hope to follow your lead, sir. So thank you very much, and thank you all. And I am very happy to be with you all. And I, at this point, want to talk a little bit about the revisions of board membership. As you know, there were tremendous new things given to us through the General Assembly. What had been a standard for a long time has been redone. It has been redone in many ways that we're going to talk about today. And we will have actually from the Attorney General's office, Mr. Tius, who will, Tosi, I'll get it right, Mr. Tosi, I got it right. Okay, who will then be talking to us about the changes that have taken place or took place as of July 1, just half of a month ago of this month. So before I do that, though, I want to say a little bit about the other people who are on the board. And I would recommend anybody who does not know them to go to the MAS board, not the board, but to go to the MAS website, and you will be able to find CVs on all of the people who are on board now with us. I would like to read all of those CVs, but if I did that, it would be lunchtime by the time I'm finished, because most of them have tremendous CVs. I'll just say, if you don't mind, a few things. Ms. Heller, who has been previous to July 1, others have not, and those are other people I'll talk about in a moment, but Ms. Heller and I are the flashbacks, I suppose. And Ms. Heller was raised in Kent County on the Eastern Shore, is now the county administrator for Kent County, and which she became in 2015. She is, among other things, responsible for a variety of the departments in Kent County, including water and wastewater, which of course is the foundation of our business now, environmental operations, human resources, and public safety, among other things that she does. And she had worked for a military consultant down in Alexandria, was with the Naval Air Stations Systems Command, and she also is a member of the Board of Trustees for the Local Government Insurance Trust and the Board of Directors for Maryland Rural Development Corporation. So thank you very much, Ms. Heller, for being with us. Appreciate that. Next, we have Ms. Wang. And I thought at one time that she had been a student of mine in law school, but I found out that she went to a higher level school and she did say that she had a case in front of me, and I'm hoping that she won it, but we'll find out. Anyway, she is with Miles at Stockbridge and has been there since 1987. It is those of you who have worked in the field of my profession and her profession. Miles at Stockbridge is a very well-known firm all throughout the state of Maryland and all throughout basically everywhere they've been, which is almost everywhere that I can think of. It is a fantastic outfit, and always I have had very, very good relationship with Miles at Stockbridge as they've moved along. She has represented multinational, national, and local clients over the past 37 years, and that has enabled her to develop practical solutions to complex environmental issues, which she certainly will find here as we go along, and that will be a tremendous help to us. She also has a number of lectures that she has done, American and Maryland State Bar Associations, Defense Research Institute, government institutions, NAIEM, and I could go on. I'll finish by saying that she was one of the best lawyers in America, environmental law litigation from 2007 to the present. So, Ms. Wang, Esquire, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, but certainly not least, is Secretary Robert Neal. I have a little trouble deciding how I should call his name because he has so many things he's done and he's been everywhere. Sort of reminds me of that old thing about I've been everywhere, if you all remember some of those. And he has done recently, among other things, he had been Secretary of the Maryland Department of Health. He's been Senior Advisor to the Governor. He has, among other things, been Chairman of the Maryland Commission on Drugs and Alcohol Abuse, members of the Maryland Transportation Authority, members of the Maryland House of Delegates. He is a graduate from the University of Maryland, and he served in the Navy from 1967 to 1969. He got into the service 1 year before me, but I stayed a lot longer. I was there until, 1976, but not in the Navy because I don't like seeing water 40 feet down that I might have to jump into, but he was stronger than me. So here he is. Thank you very much, Mr. Neal, for being with us. Secretary Neal, I should say. Thank you, sir. Let's see here. And then we have Mr. Witt. Mr. Witt is from the western part of Maryland, and he is joining us as of July 1, 2021, as other folks have done. He's project manager for the Garrett County Department of Public Works in Oakland. He's been employed by Garrett County since 2005, and has nearly 20 years of experience in the water and wastewater industry. He was honored in 2011 with the Maryland Rising Star Award for exemplary service to local government, and he's active with the Oakland Lake. I'll get this right after I read it 3 times. Lake Park Lions Club. I should know that because my father was a Lions many years ago. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Witt, for being with us. Appreciate that. All right. And we have someone who is not with us, and that is Miss Nancy Kopp, who is the general in the General Assembly from 2002 and has been by that assembly selected and reelected up until February 2019, which is where she still lies. And she is the 23rd Maryland State Treasurer since the adoption of the Constitution in 1851, and has been involved in so many things that it is just terrific. She is not going to be here today for certain reasons, but she does have here with her Miss Bennett, Bernadette Bennett, who is the Chief Deputy Treasurer, and she will be locum tenens today and perhaps other times for Ms. Kopp. So those are the people who are coming aboard on July 1, and I hope we all will greet them with enthusiasm and appreciation for what they're doing. So at that point, I'm going to go on, unless there are any questions about these individuals, to a few matters that lean upon the new laws that have passed in the General Assembly of this year. And they deal particularly with regard to the members who are our members of July 1, and that is all of us that are here. The board is now composed of members in toto, and with the exception of one. Currently, there is one vacancy on the board that has not yet been filled, but it will be at some point. Under the law, there is a quorum. I don't want to steal, Mr. Tosi, your fire, but I think I'll mention it here because we are formally going to go into who is going to be doing what on the board. Anyway, a quorum under the law of 5 people is required for a proceeding to take place. So if we don't have 5 people here among the members, then we will not be able to do anything. Now this would apply whether they're in person or by way of tele-devices like we're using today. Doesn't matter as long as we're all together and are able to reach the general public as we must by the law. The director can participate. So Dr. Glass, we will certainly appreciate you being here, but by law, he cannot cast a vote. He can do other things, but he cannot cast a vote. The other 7 members, now at the time of 6, because we have a vacancy, each member has 1 vote, and again, except for the chief. Now, the chief being Judge Glass, of course, he's the chief of everything with MES, so way above my level. Now, when it comes to voting, as I said, everybody has 1 vote, and at least 5 votes always will be required from the members in order to pass. So if we are passing any kind of things that require a rule or one entire vote that everybody agrees to, there have to always be 5 voting requirements that are met. Matters of the rules generally, however, are customarily guided by Robert's Rules of Order, which I think most of us have dealt with at one stage or another of our careers. Now, there are two required offices under the law, other than that of the chair, and they are the secretary and the treasurer of the board. I'm going to ask for nominations of those two persons, and thereafter for other board members to assist them who have become secretary and treasurer. No specific number is needed to assist these individuals. As is usual, unfortunately, the way the statute works, Dr. Glass cannot vote. However, he can climb in if he would wish to nominate someone, as would all the other people who are present, and we'll check through that as we go. So unless there are any questions, I want to move to the nomination for the board secretary. There will be no assistance by that statute specifically. All right, is there anyone who wishes to make a nomination for board secretary? Dr. Glass?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Witt.
All right. Is there a second?
Second, Robert Neal.
Any discussion? No discussion having been heard, I now call for a vote on the nomination. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say not hearing. Therefore, we have 5, I believe. Have we counted them, Ms. Fuller? Ms. Fuller? Hello?
Sorry, I was writing.
All right.
Yes, that sounded like all 5.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Witt, for taking on this service. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, the next one that is required by law is the treasurer in the board, or of the board. And I would ask again whether there is a nomination for that individual.
Judge Malkin, I would like to nominate Secretary Neal.
All right, thank you
This
very
is
much.
Marion.
Second.
Second, are there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I call for a vote on that nomination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I will enter just to make sure that we have enough people. And are there any persons who do not wish to vote for him? If so, raise your hand. All right, nobody will abstain except him, of course. So I believe we now can call, and we have our number. Is that correct, Ms. Fuller?
Yes, we do.
All right, so now we have Secretary Neal. Where are you, sir?
I'm right here, sir.
Well, good. I'm glad you haven't disappeared. I can't see you. But thank you very much. Now I do see you, and thank you, sir, for taking this duty on. It is
Thank you.
as
It's
you
an
know,
honor.
Everything in that you have ever dealt with, or I have ever dealt with the state, have money involved. I don't know one that doesn't. So I'm sure you will serve diligently and well. Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, there's a vicious rumor that I can't read, but I can count. So you got the right job for me.
Well, we'll go to Best Buy and get you something that will help you with that. So, okay, I promise it'll be not more than $10, but it'll work. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Now, not within the statute, but within the resolutions that have adopted, latest was the resolution 02081R in August of 15th of 2002. And it still is in force as far as I can see. There are 2 committees of the board, the Audit Committee and the Human Resources Compensation Committee. So the audit, or the H&R, as we always say it, or HR, will need people to help with it. And so each of these committees has a chair, typically assisted by 2 other board members. And of course, any member of the board can nominate any other member to serve as chair of the committee if they wish. And that includes everyone, including the doctor. So at this point, I'll ask for any nomination of a member, and you can nominate yourself if you wish, for Audit Committee. Since this is not a statutory one, I think you can nominate yourself. You can't vote for yourself, but you can nominate for yourself. So is there anyone who wishes to nominate a member or two members for the Audit Committee?
I'd like to nominate Ms. Heller for the Audit Committee
As the chair of the committee?
as the chair of the Audit Committee.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Not hearing any, we'll ask for a vote at this point. And, well, there has to be, I'm sorry, I did ask for the second. I didn't vote it in terms of second, but same thing. We're now ready to take a vote on the nomination of Ms. Shelley Heller to be the Audit Committee Chair within the confines of the board. All right, any of you in favor, raise your hand, please. All right, anyone opposed? Not seeing.
No, but I'll
anyone.
abstain.
And abstention, thank you, Ms. Heller. And having heard these, I ask now for Ms. Fuller to say whether or not we have a full person feeding this. I think we have sufficient people.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Heller. I appreciate your taking this on. Thank you very much. All right. Now we'll move to the Audit Committee volunteers. If anyone wishes to volunteer, and if we don't have two other people, we have a very small number. This is not like the University of Regents that some people are aware of. I think Mr. Neal is. So therefore, we have relatively small number of people to do a rather large number of things. But anyone who wishes to, and I will be happy if there is simply one person who wishes to come in, I would be happy to come in as the second one. I don't think there's any reason why I can't, and that would help, I think, people who are already have taken on these duties. So I now would call for nominations for volunteers to serve for the Audit Committee.
Mr. Chairman, this is Bernadette. I'll volunteer the treasurer and I'm sure she'll be very happy to do it.
All right, thank you very much. So that's Ms. Bennick. Thank you, Ms. Bennick, on behalf of.
Good morning, Maryland Environmental Service.
Hey, Jana, this is Marion Wong on the search.
Who else do we have? I'm sorry, we had a double.
I think Ms. Wang was speaking, but now it looks like she's muted.
All right. Ms. Wang, did you make a nomination? I didn't catch it at the moment. We have to get your, yes.
No, Your Honor. For some reason, my screen froze, so I didn't hear anything about your next committee assignment. I only got the information about the Audit Committee.
All right, we have the Audit Committee. This is for the volunteers to serve, correct?
Yes. Yes, we're looking for volunteers for the Audit Committee, which will be chaired by Ms. Heller. Judge Smalkin has volunteered, and Ms. Kopp has been volunteered.
Who has, Ms. Our second one? Or third?
The Treasurer Kopp.
Oh, okay. We have that on there and me. Yes, I can spell me. That's about it. Okay. Now we'll move on to the second one that is within our scope, and that is the HR committee. And if we have someone to fill the chair of that committee, I'll hear a nomination at this point.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Wang for chair of the HR and Compensation Committee.
Second? Anyone second? I'll be second. Okay. Thank you. And Secretary Neal has as well. Okay. Is there anyone else? I think that's who we have. Now, we have a nomination and we have a second. Any discussion? No discussion being heard, we'll cast a vote. All those in favor of her nomination, please raise your hand.
Okay, that was everyone.
All right. All in favor, all in favor, none, and abstention of Ms. Wang. So Ms. Wang, you are now the HR person, and in your experience in law, you've seen and done everything, and I think you will certainly be a terrific person to be our chairman on this. Thank you so much for taking it. All right. And now we move on to the next matter, which are two volunteers to serve in the HR committee. Once again, I'll put myself in unless anybody objects to that. All right, and we'll have a motion for that. And let's see here, might as well go ahead and do it. I don't know if it's right for me to ask for a second on my own nomination, but if there is.
I can second your nomination.
All right, thank you. I think I could probably also ask for a vote. If there's any discussion, is there any discussion? No discussion, so we can go for a vote. Is there anyone who wishes to vote in favor? If so, raise your right hand. I will not. All right. I think we have we have them there. All right, that's fine. Thank you very much. And now we move on to one more to help Ms. Wang. Is there anyone who wishes to take on this duty?
I'd like to nominate Senator Neal to be a member of the HR committee. If you'll accept the nomination.
All right. Is there anyone else? All right. I will second that. And now we'll call for a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Mr. Neal abstaining. And Ms. Fuller? Is there anyone who, well, we've already come to a conclusion, so no reason to ask for anyone against it. Everybody's come for it. All right, so I think we have everything on board. Is that correct? Unless I'm mistaken.
I believe.
I'll ask for our local lawyer. Let's see here. Our lawyers are Ms. Fuller and Mr. Coleman. Have we got everybody on board that we need to?
Yeah, you do have currently 3 members each on both the Audit Committee and the HR Committee. There can be more than 3 to serve on either of those committees.
I appreciate that, but it's not required. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. I think at the moment, of course, that can always be changed if we need more people. At the moment, I would like to keep it because everybody's got something to do. And
Not yet.
Not yet?
Mr. Witt is not on a committee yet.
Mr. Witt's not on a committee? Wait a minute. I thought he was. I might have made a mistake there. He was at.
He was nominated as the secretary, the board secretary.
Oh, okay. But we didn't take a vote on that. Is that correct?
We did for the
Yes.
secretary.
We did. So I think we've got somebody with everything, correct?
If you want every board member on a committee, Mr. Witt is not yet on either the HR or the Audit Committee.
All right. Well, Mr. Witt, I'll ask you if you would wish to volunteer. We certainly can take volunteers.
I'll volunteer for the HR committee.
All right. Let's see here. Well, I will nominate.
I second his nomination.
Yeah, I think he can do that. Just can't vote for himself. All right. Are there any discussions? All right. Let's see here. The next thing is all those who are in favor, raise your right hand. Ms. Fuller, we all ready?
Yes.
Okay. Those against, I see none. Therefore, thank you, Mr. Witt, for taking this on. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. All right, I think that's about it. As you would expect, there is one more thing I'm going to be talking about. But I think, as you would suspect, this is quite a major change to the way things have been done in terms of getting things together right from the gun barrel, which we have done. We started on July 1, and here in July 15th, I think we have a wonderful number of people and of their abilities. So thank you all very much. I appreciate that. Now we have one more thing that I need to get to before we hear our next, or our speaker, really, because I've been talking the whole time. Sorry about that. But I'll be able to rest enough to have a little bit of my water before I start again. The next thing has to do with something in the Act that is different from what we've had in the past, and that is Section 3-103E2. Those of you who are not lawyers will wonder how many more there could possibly be. If you go into the United States government statutes, you'll find them going about 8 going down that right way, but we don't have that much. We have a few. And here, the new act provides that the Treasury of the Board, with the approval of the Board, may authorize an employee of MES to serve as Deputy Treasurer and disperse money for the purposes of service, need some more water, as provided by law, subject to restrictions or other conditions that the Treasurer establishes. In order to do so, Secretary Neal may ask the Board now to nominate as that Deputy Treasurer a member of the establishment of MES, the Managing Director of Finance, Mr. Hemant Patel, who is here. We have him there. Mr. Patel, good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I so request that Mr. Patel be designated Deputy Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Is there any second?
I'll second. Shelley Heller.
Has been second. Is there any discussion to be taken? All right. Not hearing any. I'll call for a vote on the nomination. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Aye. All right. Any against? Seeing or hearing none against, Mr. Patel, you will take that duty. Thank you very much, sir, for adding that to the other things that you do for MES.
Thank you very much to the Board, and I'm honored to accept that position.
And again, thank you again, Secretary Neal, so much. You know, Secretary Neal is such a fantastic individual. When I read all of his CV, I thought, gee whiz, he's well above me. And I've been able to find out on his CV that he has 4 children and 10 grandchildren, and that's more than I've got. I've only got 2 children and 7. So I'm way behind that gentleman in many ways, and I'm very happy that he's with us. Thank you very much. And we'll be talking. All right. Let's see. I think our next duty is to hear, and I think you've got all 25 pages you're going to read, Mr. Tosi, is that correct? If so, stop now.
Actually, Judge, or should I call you Chair, the purpose of this is really to go over, not to go over the entire act, which was pretty comprehensive, but really to focus on the items that the Board will need to accomplish or complete over the course of the next calendar year, or the remainder of this calendar year for the most part. So there are a number of tasks that the Board has to complete, and obviously, you know that everybody knows that this is a comprehensive reform legislation that was passed in 2021, signed into law by Governor Hogan, and was effective July 1. So I'll be going over just a few of the items today that were in the act, but mostly that pertain to the board's action items. Next slide. And by the way, it figures that you mask up and stay home for 17 months, and then the minute that you unmask and aren't home, you catch a summer cold. So I got a little bit of a raspy voice today because of that, but should be okay. So there are two items on this page that I wanted to point out. The first is that the board is required by law now to develop and adopt a conflict of interest policy. This is, I'm going to be working with the Maryland State Ethics Commission on a framework for this. And with the board's okay, I can work with our AG's office here on developing a framework, and the board at that point can take action on that framework and the policy itself.
Well, if I can speak for the board, and if I don't, please tell me or please let me know, but I think there would be absolutely no exception to that. In fact, we'd be very happy to have you and Sean and Pamela and all the other folks from the AG's office help us. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. All right, thank you.
With any of these policies, they go through a review process that always is going to include the AG's office at on every level. So, so the next item here is a requirement in law by December 1, 2021, to adopt or readopt these policies for MES. That includes severance packages, bonuses, tuition reimbursement, expense reimbursement, whistleblower complaints, travel, and the use of vehicles and devices. So we're working through these, but I wanted to point out that Dr. Glass, even prior to the passage of this bill, had actually, I think even before the beginning of the 2021 session, had ordered MES staff to go through a comprehensive review of all of our policies here at MES. So we're working our way through those right now, and the board should begin to receive final drafts of those policies over the course of the next few months and into early fall. So I have every expectation that we're obviously going to be able to complete these tasks. The board will have these before them before the end of the year, for sure. Any questions on these?
Hearing none, go ahead on, please.
So the next slide here talks about some requirements that the law had for the board to go through annual training on some policies. The first item here I'm going to pass on to Mr. Coleman, deals with the requirement for the board to abide by the standard of care that's currently adopted in the Corporations and Associations article of Maryland state law. Go ahead, Mr. Coleman.
Thank you. So one of the changes that was made to the MES Act is to establish a statutory standard of care for members of the board. This is something that the General Assembly adopted for board members of private corporations a number of years ago, but there is no counterpart standard of or statutory standard of care for board members who serve on governmental entities. There are some common law standards, but not a statutory standard. So the standard that board members now must comply with is set forth in section 2-405.1 of the Corporations and Associations article of the annotated code. And I will read to you the applicable provision. A director of a corporation shall act in good faith in a manner the director reasonably believes to be in the best interest of the corporation and with the care that an ordinarily prudent person in a like position would use under similar circumstances. So a couple things about that standard. The first is that when the act says that a director shall act also is defined in the statute to mean a failure not to act. So it can be either an act or an omission or an intentional disregard of some standard. But it doesn't mean just to take an affirmative act. Essentially, the directors must act in a way that puts the agency first. And I use the word corporation because that's in the statute, but really we're always talking about MES, the agency. So the standard now requires that members of the board must act in a way that puts the agency before their own personal interests, and they must act in a way in which a reasonably prudent person would also act. So even if you don't have a personal interest in a matter, you still must act in a reasonable manner all the time. Now, directors do not have to act or make their decisions in a vacuum. And as is the case with most corporations and certainly with MES, the members of the board will be relying on both the agency staff to make their decisions as well as outside experts. We have outside auditors. We have an outside financial consultant who assists with the debt issuances. We utilize the services of an outside bond counsel. And I would expect that as the board considers technical projects, there will be outside engineering firms or other consultants who will come in and make recommendations and give advice on those matters. You are entitled to rely on the information you receive from those individuals and entities in making your decision. And if you rely on them in good faith, then you would not be deemed to have violated this statutory provision if for some reason something goes wrong. So you are acting in good faith when you reasonably rely on the advice that you get from people who hold themselves out as having that information. Additionally, and part of the reason for the committees is that there will be times when the committees will be devoted to working on a particular matter and dive into the weeds, so to speak, on those issues. The board members who are not members of those committees can rely on the information the committees present, just as if they were the outside consultants or agency staff. So it provides some additional protection to board members who rely on the information they receive from the committees. There's a number of interesting legal issues that arise with respect to how someone might contest whether or not a board member had complied with these provisions. I won't get into that today. What I did just want you all to understand, though, is that you do have a standard that you must comply with. That standard is set forth in statute. And I will be sending to each of you a copy of the statute so that you have it available. And certainly at any time, feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Sean, I wonder if I can ask you a couple questions on this particular area. I didn't see a specific date that had to be put together and sent to the General Assembly or anywhere else. Is that correct? We have
this standard of care is now in effect. The MES Reform Act adopted this standard of care for MES board members in the act, so it became effective on July the 1st.
But is there a date that we have to send something to somebody to say we have done this?
No.
Good. Okay, that's what I wanted, because we have so many of those October, December thing otherwise. There's also something else. For those who have not been in the service of the state, they have to come into the ethics people and let them know that they're there and all that stuff. Isn't there, that applies to us, does it not?
Yes, it does. And while that's a separate requirement from this provision.
Right.
All members of the MES board do have to file financial disclosure statements with the State Ethics Commission. And if you have not yet done so, you are required to do so, I believe, within 30 days after the date of your appointment.
I wanted to make sure that everybody coming aboard knows that and does it, so there's not a problem. Is there any question from Mr. Coleman about how you use that or how you do that? Yes.
Did we get a disclosure? Did we get a disclosure form to send in?
It's now done electronically, and I can contact you after the meeting and talk through about that process for doing the filing online.
Could you reach out to me as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
I want to make sure everybody gets on the track before the track breaks open, so we'll get that done. Okay. Any other questions or anything else for Mr. Coleman before we move back? Will Mr. Tosi come back, or are we finished?
I got a couple more slides.
Okay.
So the second part of this slide here is annual training. I'll go in reverse order here. The policies that we are going to be sending to the board for adoption or readoption, I feel like the board does not need to be trained on policies that they're going to be adopted or readopted up front, but that training will have to happen closer to the end of this coming fiscal year. So the board will take action on those policies, and then again, just as a reminder of the policies, be trained in those annually, starting closer to the end of this fiscal year. Training for board members on ethics, harassment, and diversity, we are working on, and you should receive some contact from MES staff shortly after the meeting on some dates in September that the Maryland State Ethics Commission will come in and train the board on ethics, on the ethics component. MES staff will have appropriate staff train the board on harassment and diversity policies. So those, I think, can be done in one morning in September. It looks like the State Ethics Commission has openings pretty much every Thursday in September. We're not going to be doing this as part of a board meeting, so the September 23rd date accepted. All other dates in September on Thursdays, I think, are good, and hopefully one of those dates works for all the board members. Any questions on this? Okay, next slide. Just a couple more items here. I'll be as quick as I can. The next item that the law required is an independent assessment of the board's operations by an independent consultant or accountant. The items that the independent consultant or accountant need to review and assess are listed here. To that end, there is an RFP out that went out on the street yesterday, I believe. Responses are due in about a month, and we should have a selection and a contract award at some point in September. So that firm, whoever is selected, will have the remainder of the year to complete this assessment, and then there are some requirements of the board once that is done. Any questions here? Okay, the next to last item that I have is that the law required a separate audit that focuses solely on unauthorized spending, misallocated expenses, lack of conformity with state law or board policies, and other accounting errors. The law previous to the MES Reform Act required as close to the end of the fiscal year as possible. So it's not really date certain, but it's, as soon after the close of the fiscal year as possible, a financial audit. The firm that is handling that financial audit is RSM. They are under contract, and we will be using RSM for this piece as well. And that's permitted by state law. And then there are some requirements for the board to review at the board meeting any of these or this audit, this particular piece of the audit, and to make any appropriate changes that are recommended. And then there are some requirements for MES to disclose publicly the results. Any questions on this slide? Okay, and last but not least, there are some requirements for the executive director. The board is now required to evaluate the executive director of MES annually. So at some point, I don't have a time, there's no time frame on this, but I think clearly since the board has been recently reappointed, this sounds like most likely it will happen closer to the end of the fiscal year as well. So at some point between now and maybe early next year, the board is going to have to establish criteria and procedures, and then use those and publish those criteria and procedures on the MES website, and then use those criteria and procedures to evaluate the executive director. Last but not least, expenses. The executive director and deputy director are required to present all expenses in aggregate exceeding $500 at each regular board meeting. Dr. Glass has been complying with this before, long before the MES Reform Act was in place, and obviously will continue to do so now that it is officially a requirement. And that concludes, unless there are any questions on this piece, that concludes my portion of the program here.
All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Tosi and Mr. Coleman, very much appreciated. And unless there are any other questions with regard to our, and as you can see, this has been a very complicated and will remain complicated. So we have to make sure that we rely upon the judgment of many people, including the people who are given to us by the AG's office. So thank you very much for doing that. And we will be dealing with you over time. I guarantee it. All right, thank you very much. Going on, the next thing on the schedule is the approval of minutes of June 24, 2021. I believe copies have been given to everyone, including our new people that came in July. There is no specific requirement that you have actually been there in person to look at it. Robert's Rules of Order allow it, and therefore, unless there is any objection to that board, to our board, or from our board rather, to what you saw in the approval of minutes that you have been given, I will simply ask for an aye or nay as to whether or not you wish for this to be put into practice by the secretary. All right. Is there anyone who has any questions about this? Anything you saw that you do not wish to deal with? All right, they're hearing none. I would request an aye or a nay as to whether or not we will approve the minutes of 24 June 2021. All in favor, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Or we have more than 5. There being more than 5, that is approved. Next, well, usually you go first the whole time, Doctor, but now is your chance. Okay, so we would like to know your report, and thank you very much for being with us, even though you are on vacation in theory. In practice, you're here. So please let us know what we need to know from your report.
Thank you, Judge Schmalkin.
Thank you.
Next slide. Mrs. Fuller, next slide for the expense report.
I'm trying. It doesn't want to advance.
Okay, well, I'll just start. I'm getting the timing of the expense reports down. I reported last month or the month before that I spent $124 on a staff lunch at Greenbrier State Park when I visited the water and wastewater treatment facilities out there. And it just showed up on my report this month. So given the delay time, I'm not going to go into detail on things until they appear on the report, but I'll give reference. And one other thing that's developed is that I will, if I ever travel, for those new board members, I didn't travel throughout the pandemic. But as things have opened up, our major partners in the state are MML, the Maryland Municipal League, and the Maryland Association of County Officials. So those two organizations are the only two organizations that we largely the only two organizations that MES buys booths at, attends en masse, and tries to develop business relationships with the membership. So I did attend MML and it was very successful. I feel I had 14 requests that came out of the meetings. I had one that I didn't know about that occurred last week that just came from handing out cards. But it's pretty clear that in order to engage with town commissioners and mayors, we need to do so on a regular basis as they change out, and new commissioners, if they're not from the environmental space, they don't really know what MES is or what MES does, or the fact that we cannot respond to requests for proposals and requests for bids without, we don't compete with the private sector, so we can't just respond to their bids if they put them on the street. So anyway, the other, if my expense report ever shows up, it's not just mine anymore. It is also Ms. Ferketik's, the deputy director, and she will be attending the Chesapeake Water Environment Association, something that as water wastewater engineers, she and I have been a member of that organization in the past. I plan on restarting that membership, but she is going to Chesapeake Tri-Con and her registration was $300. We will continue to just put our expense reports out every month so that everything is right here and available and recorded and posted to our website as time goes on. The great lead that came out of, well, one of the great contacts was the city of Gaithersburg. The city of Gaithersburg in Montgomery County, a commissioner came up to me after my first presentation. I presented 3 times at MML, and although I was up against some stiff competition, I generally had less than 10 folks in my presentations, but I think we may need to adjust our titles. I went to one that was on stormwater management that had stormwater in the title, and it actually had a good 75 folks in the room. And I even stood up as they were complaining about how they would use the American Rescue Plan funds and what they would do with stormwater and wastewater issues. And it seemed like many of them did not really know what the Maryland Environmental Service was or how we can help smaller municipalities. I gave a solution of separating septic tanks in a small town and having a small packaged wastewater treatment plant serve a town, and knowing that would probably be cost competitive. So I hope that town, I gave out the cards, but I didn't get that town on our list. So there were lots of conversations, and we look forward to participating in MACO in August at the same level. Having a booth, engaging with lots of officials, and seeing if any of them have an interest in follow-ups from MES. And we've devised a plan where when those contacts are made and they're with government officials, but non-technical folks, Mr. Tosi will handle the lead on that activity as the government affairs director. And then once Mr. Tosi establishes that those folks want to move towards a request for a proposal or scope of work from MES, we'll pass them to the managing director that is most in line with those responsibilities of that jurisdictions. We had several small towns interested in composting. One small town that was interested in actually having some assistance with their solid waste collection. And so we'll obviously pass that on to Mr. Ford, and stormwater request will pass on to Mr. Gillespie or his team. And I've already forwarded the city of Gaithersburg contact to Mr. Gillespie just at the end of last week. So although they might be smaller dollar projects, I think they really are most in tune with our mission as MES and being there and to support smaller jurisdictions. On the way from MML, I did attend the ribbon cutting for the completed wastewater treatment plant at the Eastern Correctional Institution. The new wastewater treatment plant is an incredible marvel of wastewater engineering. The plant is achieving industry low total nitrogen and total phosphorus removal. I'm told they're amongst the lowest in the country. I haven't seen the data to back that up, but maybe Mr. Tyler Pergata can help us elucidate that when he speaks later. It's primarily so low because even though it's coming from a relatively small flow rate, it's upstream of shellfish habitat, and those oysters are edible and used for consumption. So cheers to ACE Construction and KCI for the great work executing that project on time and on budget for our client partner, DPSCS. I also toured the Cogen facility and interacted with the MES team there. Thanks to the staff for the tours and for hosting me. They're doing an incredible job in a transition period where we'll be getting off of wood chips and onto natural gas, hopefully within the next 6 months. Also, I'd like to tell you about a company that came in to interact with us on July 1st, Gross Wind Technologies, GROSS-WEN. The water and wastewater engineering team, Ms. Verketic and myself, hosted representatives from this growing company from the Midwest that was introduced to us by Ms. Beth Woyton, past Deputy Director of MES from Ecologics. She's working for Ecologics now. The company treats wastewater with attached algal growth, similar to rotating biological contactors or a big disc that dips into the water and has the algae growing on the outside. But this one uses belts in an S loop that dip into the water and dip in and out. And they, just like you would see algae growing on a rock in a stream, taking in some concentrations of nitrogen and phosphorus and using carbon dioxide and sunlight to power it, these rotating belt press like system that actually they can also fit specific wavelength light onto a greenhouse for this. They're showing this as a promising technology that is both carbon sequestration, also creates a class A biosolids, and is getting incredibly strong nitrogen and phosphorus removal. They have pilots in Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota. The wastewater engineering team is evaluating what they put out in their brochures, and we look forward after this first meeting to continue having conversations with them. It's always important to try to marry technologies we use right now in water, wastewater, stormwater, and dredging and solid waste with moving towards carbon sequestration, a great sustainable life cycle for facilities and for technologies. And we'll continue to evaluate them and see what we can bring to the state and the region. I also, on July 7th, attended the ribbon cutting for the commercial opening of the anaerobic digesters of Bioenergy Devco. So Bioenergy Devco is constructing 2 large anaerobic digesters to process 100,000 tons of food waste right in Jessup in Howard County. So the facility is located adjacent to the Maryland Food Center Authority and has secured contracts from large commercial fruit and vegetable processors in Howard County. I did not know that one of the largest grocery store chop up the fruit and vegetables and put them in packaging. I didn't know one of the largest facilities in the region were actually in Howard County. MES has been interacting with this company for a few years now and played a role in the facility being the first of its kind in the US. The Italian parent company has over 100 facilities in Europe that have been operating for over 25 years. There is the possibility, and I have a planned meeting with the CEO in late July. There's the possibility that we would be able to train operators to work both on their gas production, anaerobic digestion, but also the wastewater treatment of the digestate that comes out of that facility, or possibly even from a solid waste handling portion. The operators are on the front side at the scales and the tipping. The company is designed to expand, not necessarily to manage the operations. So there's still a glimmer of hope of that facility not just coming online and not just coming online in Maryland, but coming online in Maryland with MES operators managing the day-to-day operations of the facility. And the last note, I'm trying to be as brief as possible because I know we have a long meeting today. Thanks to the efforts of Mr. Patel and Fleet Manager Mr. Berman, MES has purchased its first all-electric vehicle, a Chevy Bolt, that should be delivered in the next couple of months. We plan to continue to purchase EVs, particularly looking at the Ford Lightning that should be available next year. In addition, we plan to charge these EVs with our solar canopy at headquarters, actually using clean energy from the sun to power fleet vehicles at MES. And unless there are any other questions, that's it for my monthly report.
Any questions for the chief there? All right, thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. I call him Chief because doctor, you know, doctor, but Chief is good. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Judge Malcolm.
All right. The next thing that we're going to look at are the agency activity reports with the managing directors that are the people who are in charge of those things or their substitutes, because it is, of course, time for everybody to go away. But we still have some people here who will help us. So, and if I misspell your name, you can you have my ability that I'm giving you to bang me on the head the next time you see me, but that's probably not going to be a while. So I might need that. All right. So first we have the financial report from Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel, sir, proceed.
Usually in a board of directors meeting, I present the financial results of the previous month. June is our fiscal year end, and this meeting is a little early, so I'm not presenting the financial results for fiscal year 21. They are not ready yet, but just briefly, I want to give the overview of the operations of the finance department. And I understand there's a time constraint because this is a long meeting. So here are some of the slides, and I'm just gonna say one sentence on each one of them. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
As long as we're not insolvent, we'll be very happy to hear from you.
Yes, no, we are doing very good. MES implemented Workday ERP system effective July 1, 2019. The Workday system does not only finance, the HR, procurement, inventory, reporting. So there are a lot of functionality in the Workday system, and I will go through each of those items there, what it does and how we use it. So in general ledger, Workday is a project-based accounting. As you know, in MES, we have some long-term projects that we carry for 20 years, 20, 30 years. And then we have a short-term projects that come and go, you know, to do the painting of the tank, evaluation of certain GIS projects. So right now we are on the average, we have 800 to 850 projects. And each project is given a specific project number, 8 digits. And from setting up to the project, tracking the salaries and expenses for the project, and billing the project. All this is done by finance. And it is all done in Workday. And almost 90% of it is automated. It is all set up. So Workday is helping us in tracking all the projects, even the budgets for the projects. We run payroll through Workday. Every employee keys their timesheet in Workday online. As a matter of fact, that has a capability of doing it over your phone. So payroll process is 750 employees each pay period. I think almost all of them are auto deposits. You know, once in a while, if they change the bank account, we'll cut the manual check. But other than that, they're all auto deposits. Accounts payable department pays invoices. We usually have 2,000 active vendors on our files. and we cut 250 checks for 500 invoices each week. All this is approvals process is in Workday, and all the documentation for starting from procurement to the invoice to the payment are stored in Workday or Laserfish. Accounts receivable, our billing does 1,200 invoices per month. Those invoices are for state water wastewater projects, our water wastewater projects for the local governments, private entities. We do, finance does the billing for our leaf growth products. We do billing for recycling activities. We do the billing for haulers who bring the recyclables in the trash to our landfills. So on the average, finance does about 1,200 invoices per month. Credit and collection. We do not have credit and collections department in finance. So that duty is divided amongst other finance employees. Person who does the banking may do collections, person who do the billing may do the collections. So, but we are, I believe we have a very good record of granting credits in collection activities. Since we are dealing with a lot of small nurseries, haulers, we have to extend the credit because that's our business, so we have a lot of accounts on credit, and finance is managing the credit and collections. Next slide, please. So finance prepares the financial statements monthly and yearly. So as I said, in our next meeting, we'll have June financial statements, which will be audited by the auditors, but our preliminary financial statements are fairly accurate. So it should give you the picture of how we are doing. As far as my estimate is concerned today, we have 181 million in revenue. So you can imagine finance department tracks 181 million in revenues and almost the same amount in expenses along all these vendors, payrolls, and all other activities that's going on. Finance manages 1,800 fixed assets. We only consider fixed assets over 5,000. Anything under 5,000 is managed by the facilities itself. 400 are MES owned assets, which are mainly the fleet vehicles, trucks, and the building, the contents of the building. 1,400 are custodial assets. Custodial assets are paid for by our clients, the major clients, and MES operates it, MES inventories it, MES take care of it, but it is all paid for by the client. But the financial system and the finance department keep track of all those custodial assets also. MES is audited by 3 different entities. The independent auditors, RSM, audits financial statements every year. The Office of Legislative Audits audit MES maybe 3 years, 4 years. That's on a rotating basis. And a lot of our major clients send their auditors, to audit their projects, how we are keeping the accounting of it, whether we are billing them correctly, whether we are complying with the contract terms. So MES is going through a lot of audits, and almost every year, MES has gotten a very good rating on audits. We do not have any major findings on most of the years I have been here, which is 29 years. MES has a fleet of 238 vehicles and 97 custodial vehicles. Those are the vehicles and equipment that we purchase for our clients. And this is a full service fleet shop. We evaluate the need of the vehicles and equipment. We write the specifications of it. We acquire it. Sometimes we finance it. We operate on the customer's facilities, and fleet department takes care of all of it, from specifications to the disposal. And finance does other functions like banking, insurance claims, debt payments. We have a lot of bonds, so we are taking care of all the bond payments, and anyone who needs any assistance, either is the customer, vendors, MES employees, finance provides them a very valuable assistance. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll entertain those.
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions of this gentleman?
I just want to make sure that it's clear that Mr. Patel mentioned that finance also manages the fleet. So when he's listing the vehicles and everything else, finance manages the whole life cycle of all fleet vehicles.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Mr. Patel, and we'll move on. And thank you again for letting us have that, your very broad cover of where we are in terms of finance. I think it was important for everybody to have, especially those who have now just come in. Next is the Human Resources, Ms. Jewel White, and I think Mr. Coleman will work in that as well. So, Ms. White.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. It still is morning, isn't it? I've got to check.
Yes, it is.
Good.
So my first slide, I just want to let you know we currently have 856 positions. And when our vacancies and our new hires are brought on board, we will be at 6.37%. Any questions on this slide?
All right, hearing none, go ahead.
Okay, next slide. We have one resolution for the board's consideration, a resolution 21-07-1R, and it's basically confirming the authority of our executive director to close offices on Friday, June 18th for Juneteenth National Independence Day.
All right, do I hear
So it's
any
sort of a
questions?
retroactive, I guess, resolution.
Are there any questions from Ms. White about it?
I would move approval.
All right, second.
Second.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Fuller, we got them?
That's everyone.
All right, it is approved. Thank you, and thank you all. Ms. White, proceed. Ms. White?
Yes, I was waiting for the
Anything
next
else?
slide. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead.
And this slide, for your consideration, because the governor increased the minimum wage for state employees to $15 an hour, effective July 1st, 2021, we also had to make a change to our grade 1 salary scale so that it now also reflects a minimum of $15 an hour.
All right, any questions about that from anyone? Okay, not hearing any. Thank you very much for letting us know that. Next, Ms. White?
And we need to approve that.
I think we will, that's right, because it's a resolutionary. It is resolutionary. All right, anyone wish to be heard on this? All right.
This is Shelley. I'll move that we adopt the new minimum salary for grade 1.
Second.
Second.
Bobby Neal.
Any discussion? Therefore, let us take our vote. All in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Hearing none, the resolution is passed. Thank you for reminding me of that. Since its resolution is necessary, we had to do it anyway, but let's move on then. Thank you. Go ahead on, Ms. White.
Okay, this next one is Dr. Glass will start.
Is there another slide or is this the only slide?
That's the only slide.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I wanted to present to the board that throughout the legislative session and in our resolutions and board procedures, performance-based compensation is the system under which MES operates. And at this time, I'd like to request permission to move forward with a upset limit of 3% for the results of the evaluations of personnel from FY21, and to move forward with your under your support with a performance-based compensation evaluation of all personnel.
Are there any questions of the doctor with regard to this? All right, I see none. Is this just a yes or no, or is it actually a motion? I think we have to do it as a motion, do we not? Yeah.
I
think so.
I don't believe so, but Mr. Coleman.
I would recommend that the board by motion approve performance-based compensation for FY 2022.
All right, I will agree to that. Is there any discussion or second? Is there a second to that? Second?
This is Shelley. I'll second.
All right. Anyone wish to be heard further? Not hearing any further. All those in favor, please raise your hand and let us know your name. Aye. All right, so that's now official on the record, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Smolkin and board members.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Council, for your suggestion there. I think you're right on the button. Thank you. All right. Well, people have been patiently waiting for us. And so we'll talk to them now. And those are the people from the group updates, introductions and overviews of them, and the managing directors. So we'll start with environmental dredging and restoration. And we have Miss Melissa Slotnick. And by the way, if I mess up one of your names, please let me know. I'll try to do it the right way the next time, but I'll do my best. So Ms. Slotnick, are you ready to go, ma'am?
I am. Thank you. Pam, I'll just let you know when to go to the next slide. Oop, okay, we'll do the next slide.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hi, I am Melissa Slotnick. I'm the acting division chief for the Environmental Dredging and Restoration Division. I'm presenting today on behalf of Marnie Dolliner. She's the acting managing director.
Thank you for the pictures.
You're welcome. Environmental dredging and restoration, we're known as EDR for short. We have 4 sections that cooperatively work together to provide services on our projects. They include operations, engineering, environmental, and the remediation group. Within the group, we have a range of staff with varying expertise that support our projects. Operations, engineering, and environmental groups regularly work together through the process of planning, constructing, operating, and monitoring some of our major facilities. Our remediation group is a smaller collective subset of specialized staff, and they work on specific hazardous and non-hazardous project locations. We have about 125 staff in EDR, and I listed a few of the specialties in each of the group. There's many more, but this is just sort of an example. We have equipment operators, we have professional engineers, environmental staff. We also have outreach and education people in our staff, and we also have our own small administrative group. Next. Next slide, Pam. Thank you. Our main service area in EDR is dredge material management and dredge material support related projects. There's over 1 million cubic yards of dredge material that comes out of the bay in the harbor approach channels to the ports of Baltimore every year. So the EDR staff operate the major dredge material containment facilities in Maryland that accept that dredge material. Our operations staff work at the facilities and provide the day-to-day operations and maintenance on the site. Our engineering staff provide dredging specifications, facility construction specifications for different bids, construction inspection and oversight, as well as land and water survey support. Our environmental and engineering staff support the long-term dredge material capacity planning for dredging. This is usually 20 years. We're planning in advance for dredging and placement. And then our environmental staff are tasked with all the permitting and regulatory coordination for development of the sites, the environmental work related to operating the sites. This includes innovative reuse of dredge material, and then all the community outreach and education programs that go along with the sites. Next. Thanks. This is just generally showing some of those major project locations where we have dredge material containment facilities. Hart Miller Island in the yellow there, that's Baltimore County. Masonville Dredge Material Containment Facility is in Baltimore City. Cox Creek Dredge Material Containment Facility is in Anne Arundel County. I'm going down the bay a little bit, Poplar Island off of Talbot County. A little bit further down the bay is Mid-Bay Islands. That is a future site for dredge material placement. Barren Island is a environmental restoration site, and then James Island will have most of the dredge material capacity. The Wolf Trap site is on this map, but we do not actually operate the Wolf Trap site. That's a placement site for Virginia Channel material. And then we do have some other projects I just wanted to note. Out Deep Creek Lake is a dredging project where it's restoring some recreational access. This project's still in the planning phase. And then Lake Linganore is just finishing up a 200,000 cubic yard dredging project, which is restoring the capacity for the drinking water reservoir for Frederick City. Next. So EDR's major clients are the Maryland Department of Transportation, the Maryland Port Administration, Harbor Development Group is who EDR primarily supports for our dredge material management work. And then also under MDOT is the Safety, Environment, and Risk Management Group, CERM, and they are our client for most of our remediation type projects. So here's just a list of those dredge material containment facilities that I had shown previously on the map. Just a few other I wanted to highlight. Confined Aquatic Disposal, which is CAD, is a smaller sub-project to the Masonville project, whereas we're looking at taking usable sand, actually mining usable sand, and then filling that hole back in with dredge material. So it's sort of a sub-project to Masonville. Another one I just like to point out is our TERP program. That's the Terrapin Education and Research Partnership. That's where the baby terrapins that are born on Poplar Island are collected and tagged and distributed to children in schools and classrooms. They become part of a Head Start program to grow those turtles. Kids learn about, the environment and the biology of the turtles, and it all ends in a really exciting field trip out to Poplar where they let their terrapins go. So we're pretty proud of that. That's been around for over 10 years now. We also have some environmental permitting and stormwater work that we perform for Trade Point Atlantic. A fairly newer project is providing some environmental support to Tronox. The Tronox property is an old industrial property, which is adjacent to the Cox Creek facility that we operate for the Port Administration. I like to point this one out because it's a good example of different groups in MES, EDR and water wastewater, both working together on the same project. We don't get that a lot because we sort of have our different projects, our different clients, but this is a good one where we work together. Not listed, but always appreciated is we also support work for the other groups, such as, water, wastewater, environmental monitoring with wetland delineations, forest work, things like that. I think that's all. Thank you, unless there's any questions.
Any questions? Well, thank you for that very nice slides that you've given us. And I would recommend to those of you who are new to the board, you might wish to go to one or two of these places that MES, where MES is working. I had the opportunity, just by circumstance, to go to Linganore at the time when a very huge crane was taking out the dredge machine that had been there for quite a while. It was wonderful to see how it all worked. So if you have a chance and there's something in your neighborhood, take a look and see what these people are doing. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We move on to operations by Mr. Tim Ford, Acting Managing Director. Mr. Ford, we need you to turn on your.
The great part about that is the slide disappear, or the screen disappears on you when you try to hover over the audio. So I apologize. My name is Tim Ford. I'm the Acting Managing Director for Environmental Operations. On this first slide, I won't spend too much time on it since I'll cover each of these topics in later slides, other than to say, as you can see by the two photos, even solid waste can have a certain aesthetic to it. So that top photo is a anaerobic or aerobic static pile composting system with core cover technology. That's at the Prince George's County Organics Facility. We have since constructed a 12 bunker more permanent system. That was the trial. And on the bottom photo is our Midshore 1 landfill. And there we covered that landfill when we closed it with a unique and innovative exposed geomembrane cover, which was actually a lot less in terms of overall cost. And it allows us, since that landfill was never fully filled, to reopen that landfill if there were an emergency or some other need down the road. So with that said, we'll move on to the first slide. Landfill operations. MES runs the upper Midshore County regional solid waste operations. Mrs. Heller is very familiar with this operation. We've done so now we're in our 30th year. So this agreement is unique. It allows 4 smaller rural counties to combine resources and to manage their solid waste as one unit. It saved the counties a considerable amount of money over the long haul, and it is very efficient in terms of you don't have 4 separate landfills that you would have otherwise at one time. So it's a unique agreement. As I said, it was an 80-year agreement. Each county agrees to host a landfill for 20 years. And again, we're on our 30th year, so that means we're on our 2nd landfill, and that is in Caroline County. And that is the Midshore 2 landfill. We also operate the Harford County Scarborough landfill, and we run an industrial landfill for W.R. Grace, and it is a monofill, meaning there's only one material. It's a silicone-based material that is landfilled there. Next slide. We are experienced with solid waste transfer operations. At one time, we ran Baltimore County's 2 very large Baltimore County transfer operations. We currently run 1 smaller facility for Talbot County, Maryland, and that facility feeds the Midshore 2 landfill for Talbot County. Next slide. We also do composting operations. We own we operate 3 leaf and yard waste composting sites for Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Harford. The 2 large facilities in Montgomery County and Prince George's County produce a material called leaf grow. And if you've been to any of the big box stores, it's available for sale there. It's a wonderful product. It's extremely successful. It sells out every year. We also operate the food waste composting site for Prince George's County. At one time, we could claim that that was the largest food waste composting facility in the country. It's now the 2nd. New York, the New York region, as they do for most of us, managed to build a slightly larger facility. We also operate a mobile wood grinding operation, and that operation is available to primarily used by smaller rural counties, but every county collects yard waste at their homeowner drop-off facilities, and this service allows us to grind that wood for mulch, and it saves those counties the need to purchase a very expensive wood grinding machine for use only a small time out of the year. So it's also a complementary operation, and it's a service that we can offer our smaller rural counties as well. We've also used that facility when we've had an emergency. There was a tornado that touched down on the Eastern Shore. There's a lot of downed trees. They were closing roads. We were able to get our machine over there and grind that material up and get those roads opened up. So that's another added angle to that service. If we can go to the next slide. So we also operate large municipal recycling facilities. We operate a single stream recycling facility for Prince George's County, and then we operate a dual stream facility for Montgomery County. And in part of that dual stream facility is a fiber system that's separate from what we call commingled, or the containers that are managed through that dual stream facility. And I know I'm throwing some terms out for you. I'll be more than happy when we have more time to explain what each of those are. We also operate the regional recycling collections operation for the 4 upper shore counties of Kent, Talbot, Caroline, and Queen Anne's. That's a ancillary agreement that we have with those 4 counties that complements the solid waste management agreement that we have in place. And then we market the recovered commodities for our clients, primarily Prince George's and Montgomery County, but we do also market the Upper Shore County commodities as well. Next slide. This is a unique operation. Dr. Glass touched on it earlier. We're currently converting this facility to natural gas, but we operate the Eastern Corrections facility wood waste biomass cogeneration facility. So it's a lot of words there, but what we do there is generate power and steam for the ECI facility. We produce, and that's for 3,500 inmates. It's the largest prison in the state of Maryland. And we consume 50,000 tons per year of wood chips as a renewable fuel. And again, we're converting that now to natural gas. Next slide. Oh, you missed, there you go. We also operate 3 boiler steam plant operations. The Department of Corrections loved our work so much at ECI that they rewarded us with 3 other boiler steam plant operations that we operate for the Hagerstown facility, the Central Correctional Facility, that's a laundry, and the Jessup Correctional Facility. And these 3 plants provide steam for hot water and in some cases food preparation for those correctional facilities. We have for many years now managed the Maryland Department of Environment's scrap tire management program. As you know, when you buy a tire in the state of Maryland, a portion of that fee goes to a fund that's managed by the Maryland Department of Environment. And part of that fund is used to clean up old scrap tire disposal facility, dumps basically, primarily in central Maryland. And there's a lot of tires, as you can see, that we've collected over the years and cleaned up, over 3 million tires from those old scrap tire dumps in central Maryland. In addition, we work with the Maryland State Farm Bureau and the Maryland County governments to host a agricultural scrap tire collection event. And we have in the past also offered a homeowner amnesty program similar to the agricultural scrap tire collection. Those are dependent upon funding from both MDE and direction of the governor's office. So next slide, used oil management. We've also, for quite a long time now, managed the Maryland Department of Environment's statewide used oil collection program. We contract out with a vendor who collects and recycles that oil. We do some auditing of that, so we know that the material is being managed properly. We have added used antifreeze to many of our locations. In addition, in some places, there's also the ability to recycle gasoline. And there are 127 collection sites, and we manage well over 400,000 gallons a year of used oil. And next slide. In addition, we offer solid waste management monitoring and engineering for our clients. We do capital improvements planning, project management, solid waste infrastructure construction. We've managed the construction of quite a few landfill cells. We've obviously built 2 landfills ourselves. We've closed landfills. We've managed the design and construction of landfill gas infrastructure as well. So anything basically that you would need as far as solid waste infrastructure, we have been involved in either the design or the construction of that infrastructure. In addition, we do landfill and landfill gas monitoring and reporting. We currently work with 23 landfills, both open and closed, within the state of Maryland, handling the collection of the samples for their monitoring and the statistical analysis and reporting to MDE of the results of that monitoring for those landfills. We've also done some remediation when needed, should the monitoring require it. And then finally, we do design work. We either perform that design work through our A&E shortlist or we do it through competitive bidding. And there are a whole host of projects that we've done there as well. And I think that might be the last one, or we have one more. Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Anyone have any questions of the gentleman? All right, thank you so much. Wonderful bunch of things we're doing here. Let's move on, please, to Technical and Environmental Services, and we'll be hearing from Ms. Rebecca Sprouse. Ms. Sprouse, you ready to proceed?
Yes, good morning. Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Rebecca Sprouse. I'm the Division Chief of our Environmental Monitoring Division. I'm attending today for Jason Gillespie, who's the Managing Director for our Technical and Environmental Services Group. And Technical and Environmental Services, or TES, is comprised of two divisions: Environmental Monitoring and Geospatial and Engineering Services. This first slide is just to provide an overview of the variety of clients that we support. Our largest projects are with other state agencies, specifically the Department of Transportation business units, such as State Highway Administration, the Maryland Aviation Administration, Maryland Transportation Authority, and Maryland Transit Administration. We also support many other state agencies such as Department of Natural Resources, Department of the Environment, Maryland Energy Administration, and several others. We support several of the universities, multiple counties, and several private partners, mostly providing stormwater reporting, engineering, and permitting services. These next few slides provide an overview of the sections and services within environmental monitoring. The environmental management section provides our renewable energy support. We currently have several tasks with Maryland Energy Administration supporting some of their grant programs, but we also can assist with energy audits, feasibility studies, wind assessments, and project management support. And the other main focus of the environmental management section is stormwater services. This includes stormwater structure assessments, inspections, sampling, and maintenance support. We also provide permitting assistance and draft reports and plans, such as stormwater pollution prevention plans and spill prevention, control, and countermeasure plans. The next section is our field operation and maintenance section. This is primarily our staff who support the Maryland Aviation Administration at Baltimore Washington Thurgood Marshall Airport, as well as Martin State Airport. We provide inspection and maintenance services on their de-icing collection system, the sanitary sewer system, stormwater structures and stormwater ponds, above ground and underground storage tanks, their water valves and backflow preventers. This section also provides maintenance support to our water and wastewater facilities across the state and other MES operated facilities on an as needed basis. And the last section in environmental monitoring is our water quality services section. This section mostly supports our water and wastewater facilities, but they also support other MES operated facilities as well as some independent partners. They perform sample collection and pickup services, groundwater monitoring, well sample collection. They coordinate with over 15 labs across the region to provide analytical services for the samples collected by MES and also by our contractors and partners. And they provide permit required reporting services of over 80,000 parameters annually. The second half of Technical and Environmental Services is our Geospatial and Engineering Services Division. They also have several service areas. The first is our Geographic and Information System, or GIS, and technology-based services. And here their main focus is on field data collection, digital mapping, data analysis. They do web-based and desktop-based application development. They create mobile and tablet-based data, field data collection forms, database creation, and data validation services. And the other main service area of the GES division is engineering and planning services. They provide support to both our project partners as well as regulatory agencies providing permit review. As part of project planning and permit review, they perform archaeological review, architectural historical review, endangered species evaluations, wetlands and stream assessments. This section also provides floodplain management, climate change and resiliency planning, as well as site surveys and engineering design review. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. And it's always good to be out there training people. Thank you. Appreciate that. And now our last group update is as to water and wastewater, which will be given to us from Mr. Talapragada. And I believe you're ready, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. Good morning, everyone. My name is Partha Talapragada. I'm the Acting Chief of Engineering in the Water Wastewater Group. I just want to give you a brief overview as to how we are set up. We consist of two divisions, one for operations, and the other one is for engineering. Next slide, please. In the operations division, we operate close to 250 treatment facilities statewide. Some of them are out of state. We have 5 operating regions, and we have staff at the headquarters to assist the 5 regions. We have a total of 140 employees. They're licensed operators, electricians, mechanics, plumbers, and support personnel. While operating these plants, we track and collect almost 80,000 permit compliance samples annually, and our rate of compliance has been almost 99.7%. We have a program for operator apprenticeship training. It's been ongoing, and it's a 3-year program. We also help in streamlining plant operations by troubleshooting for permit compliance. Next slide, please. You see a map of all the facilities throughout the state. Each dot represents a treatment facility. Next slide, please. There's one more that is missing, engineering. Okay, let me talk about Garrett County plant operations. There you go. We operate close to 27 treatment plants in Garrett County. We work in close cooperation with the county admin, public works, and HR to assure a seamless transfer. We have absorbed up to 5 full-time employees from the county side, and also reduced some manpower by optimizing plant operations. We have turned around a major underperforming treatment facility, which was not able to meet nitrogen limits. And by doing so, we have saved some money for the county for a period of time. Next slide, please. Going to the engineering division, I'm the head of the engineering division. We do capital improvements planning, construction, project management. We also provide on-site construction inspection. We also manage biosolids produced by the different facilities, and also provide third-party inspections for outside agencies like DC Water. We also do collection system evaluations. When I mean collection systems, wastewater pipes and manholes. We check and find out if there are any issues and come up with programs to fix them. We also help in the preparation of stormwater pollution prevention plans and SPCCs, or spill containment and countermeasure plans. I would like to talk to you about another project we recently completed at ECI, which is a prison on the Eastern Shore. It cost us close to $24 million. It is an advanced state-of-the-art wastewater treatment system using membrane bioreactors. It was completed in June of 2021. The plant has very strict discharge limits, perhaps some of the strictest in the state, or maybe even the country. To give you an example, the Chesapeake Bay standard is 3 parts of nitrogen and 0.3 parts of phosphorus. At this plant, we bring the nitrogen down to 1.6 parts per million and phosphorus to 0.16 parts per million. You can probably can have a handful of plants throughout the country that can do this level of treatment. And that's all I had. Any questions?
Thank you so much. And before we go to the next thing that we're going to look at, I would tell everyone, I think, after having watched what you've shown us, that the depth and the scope of the MES is remarkable and well done, and something that people in this state are not generally aware of, but they should be, because it's a very important part of our lifetime. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have one more thing major that we do, which is the procurement, and we have Ms. Crosby. Ms. Crosby, you there?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, proceed, please.
Okay. I'm Hattie Crosby, Chief of Procurements and Contracts for MES. And the first item that's been presented is the Brown Station landfill gas and Correction Center fuel power plant at Prince George's County, Maryland. This is a client-directed sole source procurement. The awarded contractor is Curtis Power Solution, LLC. The amount of this contract is $1,801,372. And the term of the contract is from the notice to proceed until June 30th of 2022. There's no subcontracting opportunity, so there's no MBE goal for this contract.
Now, for those who are new to the system, let me say that after each one of these, we have to make either a yes or a no. And of course, if you have some particular something that makes you inappropriate for you to send your message, either yay or nay, please let us know, or just say you abstain, and therefore we won't have a problem. So if you have anything that might be inappropriate, just make sure you abstain. Is there anyone who has any questions about this particular project? Not hearing any.
This
Yes?
is Marion, Judge.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Marion One. I just had one question. I understand that it's client directed, but do you know whether Curtis Power has had any, is it currently providing some O&M or maintenance at this facility? I didn't know whether it was client directed because, for instance, Curtis may have been familiar already with the facility.
Mr. Ford?
Yeah.
Come off mute. And Hattie, I can answer that. Yes.
Okay.
So this is part of a larger contract we're doing with Prince George's County, where we've accepted the construction management, project management, and engineering support for the Department of Environment. This particular contract, Curtis is the incumbent, and because we're in the process of finalizing that agreement, there needs to be a transition. So we'll likely bid this work out next year. But the county wanted to maintain some consistency year over year, particularly in this transition. So that's why they directed this as a sole source. There are a number of these that we'll see for these types of contracts under this new contract that we'll do sole source this year, but bid out next year. And that's just to allow continuity of service.
Thank you, Ms. Wang. Have you got any other questions there? Anyone else? All right. Anyone have a motion to agree? Any motion? I'll make the motion. Any second?
I'll second. Shelley.
Any questions to be raised? No more questions. Therefore, those in favor, please raise your hand and set your name.
Shelley.
Bobby Witt.
Any questions? Ms. Fuller, we got everybody? All right. Let's move on to the next one. Go ahead. Ms. Crosby.
Yes. Procurement item 2 is for the Dundalk Marine Terminal Groundwater Treatment Plant. This is an architect engineer shortlist contractor. The contractor is KCI Technologies, Inc. The amount of this contract is $475,000, and the term is for 2 years from the time of the notice to proceed to the contractor. There is an MB goal on this contract of 50%.
Questions as to this particular? Anyone? All right. Any reason for anyone to abstain? No abstention.
Judge, this is,
Oh, yes,
Judge,
go ahead.
this is Marion. I'll have to abstain from consideration and the vote on this matter.
All right, yes. So allowed. All right, as to everyone else, any second? We do have a second on this one. Anyone?
A second.
All right. Thank you, Secretary. Anyone have any questions that haven't been raised? All right. We'll take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
And all have agreed. No, there is an abstention, but there are no no's. Put it that way. All right, go ahead to the next one, Ms. Crosby, if you will.
Sure. This is for the wastewater group. This is a project for the city of Cambridge wastewater treatment plant sludge hauling service, transporting Cambridge dewater sludge to the Dorsey County landfill. This was a competitively sealed bid. The contractor is Shore Waste LLC. The original term was 1 year. The modified term was 3 years, and we're in the original contract amount was $99,750 for the base year. The first year option was $99,750. The amount of this renewal, which is the second year, is $109,725. And now the revised total contract amount is $309,225.
Is there any question to be raised as to this particular item? And no abstention required? All right, so anyone wish to make a motion to?
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
Second.
Second by Mr. Witt, thank you. And let's take a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None that we can see. Ms. Crosby. Go ahead.
Yes. Item 4 is for the Workday annual subscription training and implementation. Mr. Patel talked about the Workday system that we use for finance, procurement, HR. The subscription is for 5 years from July 26, 2021 through July 25th, 2026. The amount of this contract is $2,684,667. $667, yes.
All right. Once again, anybody have any questions about this particular item? Or any abstention with regard to it?
Judge, this is Marion. Again, I'll have to abstain from consideration and voting on this matter.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wang. We'll notify that on our record and that you have abstained with regard to this. Anyone have wish to make a motion? I'll move. Does anyone want a second?
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Seconded. Anything to be heard? Nothing to be heard. Therefore, we'll take a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay, and one abstention. All right, Ms. Crosby, keep going.
Okay.
If you have somewhere to go, go ahead.
Item 5 is for our water and wastewater group. This is the Cunningham Falls sanitary sewer replacement. This is a AE bid and construction service contract. The procurements from the architect and engineer shortlist. The awarded contractor is Watech Engineering Corporation. The amount of the contract is $295,833. The term of the contract is for a period of 24 months, and the MBE goal on the contract is 29%.
All right, is there anyone who has any question about this item or any reason to abstain? All right, I'll move that we accept. Anyone have second? Have a second? All right. Any questions? Anything to be said? All right, therefore we'll take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? Nay. Therefore it goes, passes. Next.
Okay. Item 6 is for the Environmental Operation Group. It is for the ECI cogen water fuel conversion, water modification, and equipment installation. The contract will perform internal boiler modification and install the natural gas equipment purchased by MES under a separate contract at the ECI cogeneration plant. The procurement is a sole source because Devco Equipment Corporation is the sole sales operation for Cleaver Brooks, the maker of the equipment, and they service Maryland, DC, Pennsylvania, and the New Jersey area. So our contract is with Devco Equipment Corporation in the amount of $1,925,000. The term of this contract will be from the notice to proceed to March 31st, 2022. And there's no MBE goal on the contract.
All right, are there any questions or extensions with regard to this item?
I had one, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, sir.
This is the contract that gets us out of the wood chip business at ECI.
It's one of
It's
them.
a part of that.
Part of it.
Ford, do you have something to say about it?
Yes, this is just the work to convert the boilers to natural gas. There are other contracts that will install. Those are competitively bid that will, and were previously approved, that will install the service line and convert equipment within the ECI prison facility. And then there'll be another competitive bid that will take this contract and do all the ancillary work associated with the conversion. We may at that point transfer this contract to the general contractor when we let that work.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Secretary. Anyone else have any questions or abstentions with regard to this item? All right, hearing none, all those, I think we have done, let's see, do we have a full board on it? No, we have to, okay. So therefore, all in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
You need the motion and the second first.
Ah, yes, that's a good idea. Okay. I think we're down to our 31st one of those. All right. I will put forward the motion. Anyone that wishes to second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions? Anything else? All right. So now let's take our vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. In not saying aye, that we have no one, so therefore we are done as to that particular item. I think we have another one. Go ahead, Ms. Crosby.
Yes, item 7 is for the Baltimore, Washington, Thurgood Marshall International Airport. This is for our Technical Environmental Service Group. This is wastewater hauling and disposal. This is a competitive sealed bid procurement. The awarded contractor is Kalyani Environmental Solutions, LLC. The amount of this contract is $850,000. And the term of the contract is for a period of 5 years. And the MBE goal on the contract is 13%.
All right, once again, any questions from the House? Any questions? Any abstentions?
No, this is Shelley. I have a
Oh,
question.
Go ahead, Shelley.
The low bidder came in so far under the other two. Are we assured that they understand the scope of the contract, or do we have any indication why they came in so much lower?
Question.
I can speak, Hattie. We have worked with Kalyani previously on several projects at the airport. We also had a site visit. We are confident that they understand what the bid is and are capable of doing the work.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Any abstention? All right, I'll move the motion on this. Any second?
Second, Bernadette.
Discussion. Hearing no discussion, we will go ahead and ask for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, go ahead on to your next item, please.
Okay, the next item was just the notification that we report to the board for procurements between the range of 25,000 up to the 200 that's required for approval, but these are not. So we report those to the board.
All right, and these do not need any confirmation by the board. But certainly look at it. If anyone has any question, please let us know. Give people a little time to look over. If you see anything that ought to be discussed.
I'll just call out the second to the last item, the Chevy Bolt. Happy to have our first EV.
Anything else? I don't think we need any kind of motion on this at all. This is just for information.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Crosby, and thank you for the work you're doing. The money is flowing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We are about to get to the end of most of what we're going to be doing. So therefore, I will ask if there are any old businesses that anyone wishes to discuss before we move on. All right, hearing none, there will be none. Are there any new businesses that anyone wishes to have before we move on? All right, I see none. And the next question that I want to bring before the board is that we have upcoming board meetings, and I don't know who's going to be talking about that. Who's going to be doing? Is it Ms. Fuller or?
Well, this was the schedule of meetings that were scheduled more than a year ago. And so this was distributed. I think there might be some question as to the date of the August meeting since it occurs during MACO.
So in the past, MES has met at MACO, but we're no longer bringing such a large contingent, although some of the board members will be there in their duties anyway. So it's just a question of whether the board, well, I recommend, or if I can make a suggestion, that we change the August date so that it doesn't conflict with MACO, since we have private members of the board that don't necessarily attend MACO, and we have the requirements of streaming. We'll have the challenge of in-person board meetings until we get the conference room reconfigured or at least adjusted with cameras and monitors so that we have our far east and far west board members able to attend but not be in person. So anyway, but the main gist is whether the board led by the chair will want to change some of the later dates in the year. Generally, the board is met on the third Thursday of the month, except for if there is a slight change, as in the Christmas and the holiday season. Usually those are closer to mid-month. But so this is just an acknowledgement of the schedule. Mrs. Fuller will be in contact with all of the board members to make sure their schedules are in sync so that we always have a quorum. And I would note that, we are working on finding a geographically dispersed and diverse last board member to join the board as well. But this is the schedule as it sits, and we'll be in contact. Mrs. Fuller and Mrs. Leach will be in contact as to the scheduled dates that best meet the calendar. We also obviously have the training events that will have to occur, and we'll match up schedules and make sure we can do that virtually so that board members can attend from afar.
All right, so that will be given to us to look at, and we will make our known what we plan to do or what we are able to do, given the fact that we're still going to be in the let's put it, the non-taking kids to school area if we do this. So I will be happy to make sure we get that done, and it will be done. All right. Well, that just about takes up everything. And I just want to say, as a matter of personal privilege, I thank everyone who has been able to be patient as I learned this new item of work and what we're doing. I think we've got a tremendous people on all sides of this, from us as board members all the way to everybody who works for MES. So I hope to meet all of you, and I don't think I'll ever make every 800 or 856 or whatever it is, but I'll try as hard as I can and come out and look at people, because with the exception of just a few of you, as far as I can see, almost all people look like little postage stamps. So I would actually like to get there and talk to you and find out that, you're real and you're not just a postage stamp, and we'll have a chance to talk. So thank you very much. And we do have something else that has to come to our attention as a board. So we intend to meet in a closed session for reasons permitted, unless we have anything else. Mr. Sean, will you plan to go ahead, or should I do this?
I'm not aware of anything else for the open session, Judge Malkin.
All right. So we do have to announce the reasons why, I believe, under the statute. Okay, so the reasons to meet in a closed session are as follows. They're permitted under Section 3-305B of General Provisions, Article of the Maryland Annotated Code. First, to discuss the performance and compensation of an employee of the service, to obtain advice from counsel regarding an employment agreement, to consult with counsel regarding pending and potential litigation, which is separate from the things I previously said. Is there anyone who is a member of the board who objects to meeting objects to meeting in closed session for these matters and these reasons? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will proceed further. Let's see, if anyone else viewing the meeting objects to the board meeting in closed session, they do have an objection. They should contact MES through its website at nmenv-com. Is there now a motion from the board to meet in closed session as stated? All right. I've gotten Secretary Neal's vote. Is there a second?
Second, Bernadette.
All right, second. Thank you. And now there is a vote on it. Is there a vote? If you agree, please raise your hand or so say. All objections? Any objections? Seeing no objections, we will go to meet then and close this general meeting until the next meeting that comes before the board. All right.
Judge Smolkin, I think it's the intention of the board that when the closed session has concluded, the meeting itself will also adjourn. There will not be another open session following the closed session.
Just want to make sure that that will be the end. Okay, any questions on that? Yes, Ms. Fuller?
And at this point, the members of the board, if you just